Vice Chair Zinke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for stepping up to the plate again, Mr. Secretary. John Wesley Powell, I think, said it best. The expansion of the West depends on water. That's why in Montana, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. So, Mr. Secretary, I missed the beginning of the hearing. I apologize, but you do have the authority required to execute land changes and divesting of tracts of land to alleviate the checkerboard system and some of the problems out west.
Yes, and we talked about this a little earlier, but we've got some tools, and if we find, as we get it further into this, that we need more authorities, I've committed to work with this committee to make sure that we can optimize land transfers with states or tribes as necessary.
And the President gave you an executive order to make sure that you and Secretary of Ag do just that. Is that correct?
Well, the executive order was with HUD versus Ag. Certainly, we've got a good working relationship with Brooke Rollins, but on the executive order was specifically to try to address the issue of housing, and with that, we did a study similar to the great example we have on the Southern Nevada Lands Act, where there was a mechanism that's already in place. But taking a look, and across I mentioned at the beginning, 480 million acres just in Interior, there's another 200 million acres in Forest Service, which we haven't examined. But if you take a look at that, a lot of that is in remote places. Only about 150,000 acres of that federal land is within 3 miles of a city, and that would be the most likely eligible piece. And so there is a teeny, less than 1% of that public land that, like the Southern Nevada Lands Act, that could help alleviate it, but it could be a real factor because land costs in places, like Nevada, like Utah, and others where we've got fast-growing metros are landlocked. But it's not a solution for affordable housing in all 50 states because, as I said, like in the eastern part of the U.S., we have really no federal land to help with affordable housing. Out west, it's a part of the solution.
And it seems like you and the Trump administration are committed to helping those communities, municipalities that are surrounded by federal lands to make sure you address housing, public infrastructure needs. Is that what I'm hearing? You're committed to do that?
Well, we are, and part of that is also making sure that in the case of Southern Nevada, there's a specific law that's been passed that we have to follow, but in other places where we can do it, we want to try to find that right mix of that multiple use thing of whether it's for housing, whether it's for give back to a state, to a tribe, whether it's for creating local park access activities. But yeah, it's using the land in a way that achieves the missions that we're against, and I think we can absolutely do that. It's just different. The big landlocked states are in a different world than a state that might have, we have some states that have 0.3, 0.5% federal land. This is a conversation they've never had or never thought about. But if you've got 60, 70, 80% federal land, man, some of the people you're on this committee because of that reason. It's probably why you signed up for this, because it's such an issue.
And my colleague from Utah and Nevada on my right and left, can I have your commitment that you prioritize Utah and Nevada in your pursuit? Because it seems like a lot of the tension is just that. Can I have your commitment that you'll prioritize their needs in those local?
Absolutely, but I'd like to include Alaska and Idaho on there too, because those are the other ones on the top thing. And Wyoming is 40+%. They're coming down the list, but yeah, we've got some challenges, and the West is growing fast. It's growing fast, and we don't want to be. We were in that in Southern Nevada. The median price of a home in Nevada is $480,000 right now. Part of that's because you can't find a plot of land to build a house on anymore.
Well, in Montana, we are saying the first 2 years of Yellowstone was filmed in Utah. So please visit Utah. Also, Mr. Secretary, how important is it for tribal consultation as you go through these land exchanges? Because there's areas that with the Paiutes, you have the Utes, you have a number of tribes. How important is it to go through the tribal consultation as you look at these properties?
Well, I think it's critical because it's generally in the law, but then if you don't do that, then you end up in the courts, and then nothing gets transferred anyway. I mean, so that's the part of, doing it right and doing it well up front is you can actually speed up the process. That's my experience from North Dakota on that, but that's I think it's something that Interior's committed to across all of our agencies. And it's not just the check a box, it's like you can end up with better solutions. And, but I'm also committed to consulting with, local officials. I mean, the counties, the ranchers. I mean, every the people that live there. I mean, this is like get input from the people that live there. That matters.
And the process when you do an land exchange or transfer of land, you do look at the communities. You talk to the state to make sure there's concurrence, or at least you're aware of it. Then you look at the tribal consultation, and then I assume you look at the land itself, whether you're going to transfer surface, subsurface. You look at the water. That process. Can you, briefly, could you kind of explain where your process is and how you approach it?
Well, again, understand that I'm just over 100 days into my term here, but the best example I have is the one I shared earlier with Utah, where we successfully transferred, state and federal land, almost 200,000 acres going each way, and all the mechanisms were in place, to make that happen. I think that in the case of a state, you might consider transferring subsurface as well of it, but if it was going to be for any non-public use, I think it would be in the interest of the public from a financial standpoint to retain the minerals underneath that, because as we know today, there's opportunity for recognizing the value from that even while retaining it. So I think we'd want to make sure that we're looking carefully at those opportunities.
And lastly, I just want to say, if there's anything that we can do in Congress, please, we're anxious to work with you, on it. There's a lot of problems out west. A lot of the anger on the west has been mismanagement. I kind of give the example of if you have a hotel, you don't like the management, don't sell the hotel, but do management.
Yep.
So it seems like you're committed to look at the management side of it and make sure we undo some of the anger and hostility. Particularly out west, where people live in communities, they see great opportunity to have a quality of life by using the resources, but they seem to be locked out. They're locked out on the basic mining, on basic logging, on basic grazing, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you for your service, and we look forward to working with you.
Well, and I would add to that list on hunting and fishing, because I mentioned earlier this $1.2 trillion we are going through a review. We think there's an opportunity for us to expand hunting and fishing access on hundreds and hundreds of parcels of federal land, both in BLM and across U.S. Fish and Wildlife Refuges. Some of those, of course, restrict any kind of activity if they're a wildlife preserve, but there are other places where we can open more things for hunting and fishing, and I think that's great for state economies. It's great for local economies. I mean, it's a big business, and it's one of the multiple uses of public land, and we want to make sure that we're being smart about getting as much land back and available for hunting and fishing and every form of recreation that we can.
And Mr. Chair, for the record, I do recognize that North Dakota has better bird hunting than Montana. With that, I yield.